We can try modeling the can now by manipulating these vertices. So once again, I will Shift A, create a cylinder, and I'll move the cylinder right here. So I'll move the cylinder. I'll try to get the width so the width line up. Okay. Now if I select my cylinder, I go into the edit mode and I select the number 3 to get into the face select mode. I can select the top face, press G and Z to move it up. So I'm just going to be working from. Now I can select the bottom face. I'm going to go from the side view while it's selected. I'm going to press G and then Z to move it directly down. Okay, so I mean right now it seems like I'm not really helping myself because my cylinder still looks like a cylinder, it doesn't look like a can. But in this edit mode you have additional tools. And one of the tools is called the extrude tool, and it's very, very important. What the extrude tool does is it creates new geometry, or in this case it will create new faces and new vertices and new edges. And the way we can utilize the extrude tool is by keeping the bottom face here selected. Then we will press E on our keyboard, and now I can just kind of move the mouse down here. Now you'll notice that I have few additional edges right here. These edges just created out of nowhere because I extruded that bottom face. So now what I can do while having the bottom face selected, I can resize it. I can make it smaller. So now I have this bottom lip kind of starting to appear. I can do the same thing at the top here. I'll select the top face. I will E to extrude. I'll go something like up here. Now I will press S to scale. So I'll scale my can like that. So really what the extrude tool does is when you select a face and you press E, it just kind of pulls out that piece of geometry. So here I'm selecting a rectangle, I press E and I move, and so it kind of pulls out that rectangle. Obviously for a can I don't want this, so I'll just Control Z back. So that is the extrude tool. Very, very important. There's 2 more tools that I'll talk about in this video. The next one is the inset tool. So once again, I can select a face, so I'll select the top face, and I'll press I to inset. So I is similar to the extrude, except now I'm not pulling up geometry or pulling it down. I'm just kind of creating like a lip right here. And so right now, from the object mode, there's no difference. But what this allows me to do is now I can select this inner face right here, and I can extrude this down. So now I have like the top lip of a can. And I can do the same thing at the bottom here. I can select the bottom face right here. I can inset, and then I can extrude up. So now I have my bottom lip as well. So let's see what the inset does with this rectangle. So if I have this rectangle and I press I to inset and I go down, it creates another smaller rectangle inside. So it keeps the shape, kept the rectangle, just pushed it inside. So up here at the top, when we selected the circle, we pressed I, it keeps the shape, but pushes everything inside. But I will undo both of these changes because I don't need them. Okay, so now my Coke can is kind of looking like a Coke can. But if you notice, if you go from the side view, there's one more little issue that I'd like to fix. And that is the sharpness right here. So if I zoom in on this corner right here, you can see that the point right here, it's too sharp. I would like it to go a little bit smoother. So the way that you can do that is, again, go back into the edit mode. Now we will select the edge select mode, or press number 2. And now I need to select all of these top edges. And so you could select an edge, then shift select the next one, shift select the next, and keep shift selecting, but that will be too long. So what you can do instead is you can just Alt and then left click, and that will select that whole edge all around. And so now to kind of round off this edge right here, I can press Shift B to bevel, and now I can move my mouse. And this beveled or added again more geometry right here. And so in this case it added 2 from 1, but if I move my scroll wheel while I'm in this mode, it will add more and more and more edges so that it's smoother and smoother. Now, maybe you want your can to be super realistic, and so you want to add a lot of these edges. My suggestion is that you don't add too many, so maybe stick around 4 or so, and then when you're ready to apply it, just left click. So now, from the side view, it's kind of curved right here. And we can do the same thing at the bottom here. Going to Tab, Alt, left click, it selects the whole row. Control B, and move your mouse, and then tab back out. So now our edges are a little bit more smoother. Now you can do the same thing for the tops right here. So I will alt click right here, but before I bevel it, I will also select this inside edge right here. So I will shift alt click. So now I have both the outside and the inside selected, and I'll also select this bottom ridge at the bottom, shift alt click once again. So now I can bevel again, Control B, and I can move my mouse. Now I'll just bring it down to 3 right here, and I left click. At the bottom I can do the same exact thing. Select my Coke can, edit, I alt click the outside, then I will shift alt click the inside and shift alt click right here as well, and I will just bevel and left click to apply. So now you have kind of like a Coke can looking thing, and you might be wondering, how can I get rid of these fine lines right here? And the way that you can do that is you can go to your object, select it, in the object mode, right click, and then shade smooth, or shade auto smooth if you want. So now your Coke can is a little bit more realistic and it's smooth looking. So far we've seen extrude with E, inset with I, and bevel with Control B. As a bonus, what you could do if you want this kind of indent right here, kind of this inner curve, what you can do is go to your can, edit mode, and now if you want to add that inner curve right here, what we have to do is we have to add a geometry right here. We have to add an edge all across here. And one way to add edges when there's no edges is we can press Control R, and we get this yellow line right here. I will just left click to apply it. Now I can move the line up and down, but I don't want to move it up or down, so I'll just right click. Now the new line is formed. And now I can press S to scale, and I can bring it in, but I don't want to bring it in too much. I just want a little bit. And so that kind of gave that that curve here. And then I can press Control B to bevel it even more. So now when I back out, I kind of have this curve going in, and then it kind of levels off a little bit as well right here. It's a very minor detail, but it might make your Coke can look a little bit better. And I guess to really just finish this, the last thing I'll do is this top bit right here. Usually on Coke cans, that's kind of protruding up. So what I'll do is I'll inset by pressing I. I'll inset it to something small like this. And now, while this small circle is selected, I will just press G to move it, but I just want to move it up, just up. So I will press Z as well, and now it's kind of moved up. But again, this, if we just look at it from the side, it's a little bit of a sharp curve here, so I can just Control B, and I can kind of bevel it as well. And so now I have an indent at the top. So I hope that kind of helps. Make sure you finish the Coke can, and when you finish the Coke can, maybe try doing like a water bottle, or a Starbucks, or a Tim Hortons, or a Slurpee cup, or something like that. But yeah, I hope that kind of helps.